Well, we are at our next matchup. Toilet paper, the 2-5 toilet paper, who's turned things around. Had a very, very tough loss last week. Put up a lot of points, but as we know, if you don't put up enough points to beat the guy you're playing, it doesn't matter.
So true, buddy.
Killer Bees, a 5-2 team. Killer Bees look strong all year long. And
quietly, I might add.
Yeah, quietly. He hasn't been as loud. His son has in the school halls, I can promise you that. Anyway, let's go to the quarterbacks, and David Garrard against Tennessee has a fan-freaking-tastic matchup.
I love this matchup, doggy. I love it.
Now, David Garrard is David Garrard, and I like David Garrard, but
I'm a Garrard guy.
This Tennessee team, now granted we have to put the little asterisk there, has given up 19 touchdown passes to opposing quarterbacks. 19. Now, keep this in mind, 6 of them did come in one game. Well, you know what? Actually, might have been more than that. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's still stats.
Stats are stats, doggy.
But anyway, and then Phillip Rivers against Oakland. Oakland is about right in the middle, and you always got that Namandi character running around.
Not far.
I'm going to give this edge to Garrard.
Me too.
But I will say this. Papers win or loss really depends on Garrard's play. You know, if he is able to put up 20, I think he has a good chance to win. If he doesn't, I don't think Papers wins this game, but we'll get to that later on. Let's go to Thomas Jones and Brandon Jacobs. Brandon Jacobs has struggled recently. You see what Philadelphia can do on defense, and he's not going to be the guy necessarily to run up the middle. I think that Philadelphia will plug that middle, and I actually think, and I mean this, and I'm with no bias, I promise, but I think Bradshaw will be the more effective running back because he's able to pass catch.
There's no bias there, Doug, because that's what's happened so far this year. And I love your analogy of plugging up the middle when we're talking about the toilet ring.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's good, actually. Thank you.
I also like the Thomas Jones play here. I think one of the few mistakes in that whole making Team B from McLaughlin was the bringing Jacobs on board. He's been nothing but a Bernard Berrien-like cancer for the Brown Ring. Yeah. And it's something else that McLaughlin has to deal with when he doesn't have the time or energy to be dealing with that kind of crap.
Do you think he plays Mike Bell instead, or he should play Mike Bell instead? Mike Bell actually should have scheduled for according to ESPN scoring, which, let's all be honest, that means nothing anymore.
Suspect.
But do you think he plays him?
No. I mean, you made a bad trade. It wasn't even a bad trade. You just got a bad player in what really was a pretty decent trade. Jacobs hasn't panned out, but he's your guy. Yeah. You got to roll with him and hope for the best and mold him into what you're looking for.
I think the magic word today is mold.
I like mold.
Anyway, Steven Jackson has a decent matchup against Detroit. And for the 10,000 people that will be there, I think Steven Jackson should have a decent game.
Magical.
Frank Gore didn't have a very big welcome back to the fantasy world last week. But do you think he gets back on track here against Indianapolis?
First of all, Tom, I'm sorry for telling you to play Gore last week. That was a mistake on my part.
He shouldn't listen to you.
No, because I really don't like you, and it couldn't have happened to a better individual.
Yeah.
But I was being honest that I would have played Gore.
Yeah. Well,
Indianapolis play Gore this week. But
Indianapolis only gives up 3 touchdowns. Only given up 3 touchdowns in the year, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. So he's got D'Angelo Williams, but Arizona actually is a pretty good run defense as well. So he's gonna have to flip a coin here.
Right? Number 1 defense.
Pretty close
against the run.
Yep. So he's gonna have to flip a coin here. You think he's hoping? Do you think Gore or Williams? Who do you think has the better day? Not who would you play?
I think Gore has the better day, but he's not the better player. So if it were my roster, I'm not sure what I'd do. I remember my man Johnson going up against Indianapolis, and I thought it was going to be a great matchup, and Indianapolis held him to under 40 yards. Yeah. So I don't think this is the best matchup ever. You did, but we're not talking about you right now.
Wide receivers, Brandon Marshall, Kenny Britt, Josh Morgan. Brandon Marshall and Kenny Britt actually have good matchups, but again, the asterisk by Kenny Britt's name is going to be who's throwing the ball to him. You get really nervous if Vince Young's going to be the guy. Kerry Collins.
Heavens, yes.
I mean, I just don't really know. But it should be, I think that Jacksonville, Tennessee game, there's going to be a lot of points scored there, I think.
Definitely.
But on the other side of things, Roddy White, Marcus Colston, Greg Jennings. I think the Roddy White Marcus Colston matchup that Monday night is going to be exciting to watch, especially for Papers. And I think meanwhile, Tom will be on the toilet pooping his guts out, worried sick about what could happen in that game.
And that's a normal activity for Tom, so it's not going to be special Monday evening. But what is going to be special is the Colston and White matchup. I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair between these two teams, and I like both of these guys to be the number one option for both offenses, which could lead to a lot of points for White and Colston.
Are you hitting the panic button for Greg Jennings?
Yes. This is the first time all year I've said yes to the panic button. We're in week 8 now. It's time for the panic button. This guy has been Kerry Colbert-like.
Oh, wow.
He's been horrible, and it's time to do something about that, especially since time is running out for the used toilet paper.
All right, we got Tony Gonzalez at New Orleans and Jason Witten against Seattle. Really, in this matchup, both of them don't have really great matchups. I don't know. I call this one a wash. I really struggle with both of these guys. I don't think they're bad players. I just don't know that the matchups are that great. So I think it could be a wash.
And they're average guys.
All right. Cowboys against Seattle, and then you also have the Bears against Cleveland. I'm going to give the edge to the Bears here against Cleveland because they're really not that good.
I agree.
Anyway, do you think Papers scores over 100 points, 130 points yet again?
Dougie, I don't. In fact, I don't think that the Brown Ring will score 100 points this week.
Oh.
But I do think that he'll squeak out a victory.
Squeeze out or squeak out?
I think that he will squeeze.
Yes.
I think that he will push out or squeeze out or pinch out a victory over the Killer Bees. And I don't have any awesome analysis for this. I'm just truly hoping that he benefits the GFO at some point in time this year. And what would benefit me is him beating the Killer Bees or the Trash Haters.
All right.
So I'm calling for the toilet paper 89 to the Killer Bees 84.
Wow, that's a pretty low scoring affair for.
He's got to come back to earth.
Okay.
He's got to come back.
I'm gonna go with Killer Bees here, and I don't think this is. I can't call it an upset, obviously, because of the records. But I think the Killer Bees might be able to outscore him here. I think it'll be lucky if he does. But I'm gonna go with Killer Bees in this one. All right. So that's it for this matchup. We'll be right back with our next one. You gotta do the